Hi guys, my name is Vanessa Smedley and I'm a painter. Well, after last week's Bahamas tutorial, I am in full beach mode. So today we are going to paint this beautiful conch shell, if that's how you pronounce it, I don't know. And we are going to have a little bit of an experiment because normally I am used to painting metallic watercolor on black paper. And today we are going to paint it not only on white paper, but we're going to paint it on top of a painting that I've already done and is dried as kind of an accent. So we will see how that works. Should be a lot of fun. So let's do this. Here are today's materials. You can screenshot that or they are listed in the description for you. Later in the video, I will show you how I add the metallic to my painting, but first I'm going to go through the regular painting real quick for you. This is my regular Daniel Smith paint, but I am mixing a lot of yellow ochre with a little bit of burnt umber. Then I have some cerulean blue and then cerulean mixed with Payne's gray. And then for the all-important shell pink in the middle, I'm mixing Quinacridone Rose with a little bit of Cadmium Yellow. I want all these colors to flow in nicely together, so I am wetting the entire body area of the shell, the kind of rounded bit, before I begin dropping in some burnt umber along the bottom, and then more of that yellow ochre color on the top. Then I use some plain cerulean blue in the shadow areas, the cooler shadow areas, add some of the pink in certain places because it's reflecting everywhere. And you'll notice I'm leaving a lot of white areas. I'm really just following the contours of this shell. Then I drop in some more of that shadow color and towards the bottom, and we'll let that dry. Then I wet the entire outer portion of the shell and begin dropping in those colors. I'm going to start with the pink, a nice saturated area of the pink, and then more of a watered down pink in some of the other areas. On this side over here, there's cooler shadow, so I'm adding in the cerulean blue. A very light mix of that yellow ochre color on the warmer side. And then I'm dropping in a thicker mix of that pink and gonna let it dry. Next I wet this little horn part here and then begin dropping in my cerulean blue and then the cerulean blue mixed with the Payne's gray, and then I warm it up with a little bit of the yellow ochre and throw in a little bit of pink for good measure. Next I'm going to add in a shadow, so I wet the entire area under the shell, and then I'm adding in a mixture of cerulean blue and burnt sienna down here. Then I add some more cerulean to the left side of it and add some pink right up underneath the shell because I think that light would shine straight through that shell and onto the table or whatever it's sitting on. Now that all of that is dried, I'm going to come back in and strengthen some of these colors. So I'm starting with the pink and then I'm softening that with clean water along the sides. Then I've mixed up a purple by adding cerulean to the pink, and I've run that along the ridge of where it starts to go backwards in space. Then I'm using my cerulean blue and Payne's gray mix to add the deepest, darkest shadows on the left side of the shell. Then I'm going to go ahead and let all of that dry again. Now we're just going to come back in and add some final details to this before we add the metallic. So I have my shadow color here and I'm running that all along the bottom edge, adding in some of the pink for that, some of that reflection. And this is going to begin to take on more of a 3D effect because of these shadows that we're adding in. Then I'm going to go ahead and deepen all of these colors up here, making sure that I soften the edges with clean water every time I add a color because we don't want hard edges on this, especially the top part. Really because I'm wanting the focus of this painting to be all of that pink and all of that lovely purple and all of the shininess on the top portion of the shell. So we're going to put all of our emphasis on that area. And I'm just going to continue to model the contours of this area by darkening up some of the shadows and some of the other colors. Now this part right here, you can see that the light is kind of shining through from behind the shell, so I'm darkening up the edges of the pink and leaving the middle of it lighter. Then I'm just adding in some of the brown indentations on the shell. I think that also helps to show the contours of it as well. And I think the shadows need to be darkened, so I darken that entire area, and I think that goes for the shadows that are on the shell as well, so I am darkening that as well. And I'm using my cerulean blue and burnt sienna mix for that. My gosh, that was a bit of a whirlwind, but I think that we are ready. All right, so now that we have the main portion of this painted already, I'm gonna take kind of a chance and I'm gonna add some metallic watercolor to this. I have my Paul Rubens set here, and I think that they kind of handle white paper a little bit better. Like, this is the swatch card for him. The Finetech, I know it's supposed to be the pinnacle of quality, but like, they look better on black. To me, they don't look very good on white at all, because they kind of all turn kind of a grayish color when you turn them vertically, which, I mean, if you're gonna hang them, then obviously they would be vertical. So anyway, I'm gonna take this interference red, deep interference red right here, which is pretty similar to the color that we have already used in the shell. I'm gonna add a little bit of deep interference yellow, just a tiny little bit of that, just like we did the other color. I'm gonna test that real quick. I mean, and I think that's pretty close to that. So I am just gonna add this directly on top of the colors that we already have there, and I'm gonna see how that goes, because I've actually never done this before. I've only ever used the metallic on black, which I think sometimes can be a little more predictable. I mean, at least to me, it can. I don't know. So I'm just adding that in right on top of that. I think I need to blend a little bit of a purple into, well, or blue, because I've been using blue, haven't I? So we'll go with this one right here, because I think that looks most like my cerulean. And I'm gonna add that into this area right here for the shadowy thing. And add that right along here in the shadow area, and then I'm gonna dilute that, because I don't want that to be too overpowering. Then I'm gonna bring some of this pink back over on the other side, because there's an awful lot of that there. Some of this shell pink up here. Just a tiny little bit of it, and then I'm gonna spread it around with water. Then I'm going to add just a little bit of that same blue by itself, because we have some of that up here by itself. And I'm really just wanting a little bit of shimmer on all of this, and I'm not trying to go crazy with it. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of this, what is this, champagne? Pearl Platinum in some of these areas up here, because there's just a little bit of a warmer glow to that. Right there, and then blend it out. These metallics don't cause as many blooms as some paints do. So it's easier to just add things in like this right on next to each other, even though they've already somewhat dried, because I'm not going super fast here. It really just redistributes the glitter a little bit whenever you use it like this. So I'm going to put a little bit of that shadow color just right here to blend that in. Okay, a little darker there. And then we want to blend that just a little better. Now I'm going to use the Pearl Silver White. I think that's what it's called. Yes.
pearl silver white, and that is the purest form that I have of like a white. And I'm going to try to come back in and do some highlights in the shiny bits and see how that works out for me. As pure as I can get it. And that should help with some of these really shiny areas, hopefully, if you can see it. Just doing that on the parts that are reflecting the light the most. You have a little shiny bit right there. I'm going to blend that out. You have a shiny bit right here, right on the edge too. Then you have a very shiny part right there. I already got that kind of, except for I'm going to add just that little bit right there. And I'm trying to get this paint as thick as I can get it. I may have to do another coat of this, I'm not sure. And then we want to bring it in on this little crack right here on the edge, right on the edge, all the way along. I should have done a background on this so that would be a little bit more obvious, but I didn't really want a background on this one. So I'm going to add a little bit more water in my white too, because that helps to get it nice and thick. Okay, and then add a little bit more. You've got like a little shiny bit right there on that part of that shell where it starts to kind of undulate backwards. That's kind of a great word. I think that's what we're looking for. And then you have some shiny bits just all along this area where it's catching the light. And I'm just kind of blending that out with some clean water as well. And let me look and see if there's any more shiny bits or highlights. Let's put some right here. We have that really strong one right there. This little edge probably needs a little bit more reinforcing. And then a stronger portion right there of that. Okay, and then a tiny little bit right along that edge, and that can kind of hide some of my overspray or over marks, whatever you want to call it, since we're not really spraying anything. Okay. I'm going to add just a little bit of it right there. It's not quite as shiny there, but it does have a cool little gradient effect. And I'm just going to add it. Right. And I think I'm going to let that dry and then see what we have.
All right, so here it is dry. I definitely don't think we need a second coat on the white. If anything, it's just a little bit overbearing. I think we're good on that. But I kind of want to just show you sort of what this looks like as you move it around. It really gives off kind of a luminous quality. I'm not sure you can see it on the camera, so I'm going to try to bring it up and show you. Like even throughout this area in person, it really gives like a luminous quality. And I really like it. I think that's a successful experiment. And just so you can see the completely finished product, here it is with all the tape removed and signed and all that kind of stuff. And there you have it. Now we know that you can use metallic watercolor on top of an already dried painting on white paper. I mean, you guys may have already known that, but I had never tried it. So anyways, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, all of that fun stuff, because that's how this channel gets to grow. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in 2 weeks.